Following conversations with my longtime friend Kayla, we go through her career of being a nurse, what it's like being a mother, having her first child, some of the rewarding and challenging parts of being a mother. We talk about mental health, we talk about her experience of getting hacked online, and much more. So if you like this channel, please subscribe and enjoy this conversation. All right, welcome Kayla.
Thanks, Brad.
It's all right. How long have we known each other for?
Oh, gosh. Well, I came to Dyer Street at 6, and I think that was pretty much when I first met you.
So 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Long time.
A long time. Yeah.
I was trying to think back about Dyer Street days. You were there only a few years, right?
Yeah, so I started at Arikara Primary at 5, and then like a year and a half into it came to Dyer Street.
Right.
With
Did you
my
move
cousins.
over to the hut or something?
Nah, so my cousins started there, and then mum kind of was like, oh, I think it's a good idea that you kind of go with them.
Yep.
We all still lived in Wainui then, but I think it was just like, obviously they were like my brother and sister at that point, not having any other siblings. So yeah, it was really kind of natural just to go over there, like with them, because yeah.
And you were always pretty close with your cousins, right, growing up?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they were here, like we were like siblings forever, and then they moved to Aussie, obviously, and even then I still went over every year, which was pretty crazy to think about, but yeah.
I feel like your mum would be happy with that, because I sort of hope for my kids one day is that they're real close with all their cousins, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I think like even looking at like, you know, Pat's family and stuff, they're not as super close, like he's not super close with his cousins, whereas like I see, you know, my cousins, you know, Brody, like my brother and sister just as much as my actual brother and sister, so it's quite crazy. But yeah, I know, crazy. How long ago was Dyer Street? Oh my gosh.
And what, did you go to school with Taylor as well at primary school?
No, so Taylor and I went to kindy together.
Right.
We started kindy at 3. So yeah, she's beating you on that game. 22 years.
It's crazy, yeah. It's crazy how it all ended up like this.
I know, right? It's so funny. Yeah, like obviously you're my longest like school friend, I would say, from primary, and then Taylor's like my longest like friend ever. So
family.
Yeah, and then you two are together, having a little baby girl.
Yeah, I know, crazy.
I love that.
Just going back to the school days, did you leave in year 6 or year 5 or something? I swear I remember you.
Nah, so I finished school with you.
Right, so from 6 you went all the way through.
Yeah, so from year 2, I think I started at the start of year 2, but my age like is different because obviously I'm born in January, so a lot of kids are like, I'm the year behind like all my other like friends. Like I was always the one that was 17, and not like 18 going to parties and that sort of stuff.
Did that make it hard in that sense?
Wow, you know it made it hard.
True.
All those little fake ID type
you found
things.
ways around today.
Yeah.
I was talking about that with Josh actually, just saying how one of my mates back in the day was scratching everyone's ID.
Yeah, we won't mention that name, but it was quite handy.
Allegedly, you were one of the customers.
Oh, allegedly, yeah. You wouldn't want to confirm nor deny, Bradley. Nah. But yeah, no, so I stayed at Dyer Street until year 6, and then went on to intermediate Hut High. So that's kind of like how I guess I met all my new Hut friends, because a lot of you guys went to obviously Nainai. Like from Dyer Street, obviously being in Nainai, so Puni. But
it was easy for me. Being in Avalon, it was literally less than 5 minutes to get to Nainai.
Yeah, see, I like moved around, Mum and I moved around heaps in the first probably like 10, 11 years of my life, I guess. And she like rented, so we had quite a few like properties that came up that ended up the lease like ending and that sort of stuff. So we moved around heaps. So like in between Wainui, Ipuni, Alistown, like all that sort of stuff. So I guess that was why school to me was like always in the heart, I guess, rather than like over here.
How did you find Hutt Intermediate?
I really liked Hutt Intermediate. I found it really good. I got in with a good group of girls there, I would say. So, yeah, it was good. But I think also my attitude towards school started going downhill a little bit from intermediate.
True.
Like, I kind of was like, thought I was probably a bit too good for my shoes.
Right.
And, probably wasn't the nicest person to some people, but I think at times, like, you look back on that, right, and you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah, it's hard to judge people on who they were during school.
Yeah.
'Cause I feel like everyone's just trying to find themselves. You're sort of figuring it out.
For sure. And I think, like, it takes a long time for some people to figure out themselves, whereas I felt like I thought I knew who I was, and I didn't like that other people didn't think that I did. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was kind of, probably a little bit mean, but I think Hutt Intermediate was a really good school. The teachers were really good and
and then
grounded.
I guess most people from there would then go into Hutt Valley High, right? Like yourself.
Yeah, so I pretty much had everyone my Hutt Intermediate classes at Hutt High. Obviously being such a bigger school with lots of like other schools coming in as well. So I think you've got like Hutt Intermediate, Wolford, where else? I think like quite a few of the other like surrounding schools and stuff generally go to Hutt High as well.
Yeah. Well, isn't it it's the biggest school in the Hutt, right? There's what, 2,000 students?
Yeah, it was.
Maybe
And
just
so
a little less.
my year 9 group was at least 600 kids.
That's crazy.
So yeah, like thinking about that, like small fish in a big pond, right?
Because at Bernard's, I think it was 600 for the whole school.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of people. I always said about Hutt Valley High,
yeah,
there's lots of options to go down any route you want. Like there's bad routes or there's good routes because there's so many kids at those schools that you can sort of take your own path.
For sure. And I 100% agree with that. I think, even just thinking about it with my sibling, like my brother, he's 16 now, and he's at high school over in Australia, but there's just so many kids that you can, like, there's the good kids, there's the bad kids, there's like the nerdy kids, you can like go down so many paths. And I think with Hutt High it was there was quite a lot of bullying and a lot of drama that went on, but I don't think that attributed anything to the school itself or like the teachers. I think it was just there was so many kids to wrangle. Do you know what I mean?
I feel like any school that size you'd get that, right?
Yeah.
Pockets of that stuff happening.
Exactly, and I think that's why like so many people are like, oh, Hutt High, you went to Hutt High, like what a shitty school. Like, you don't necessarily I don't think like that because I think, there's so many kids and you're going to always have a few that are like bad. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, I know lots of people that came from Hutt High and everyone I know seems to be good people that came from there.
Well, yeah, I definitely think like I made a really good, strong friendship group. Obviously, a few I'm still friends with now. That's quite an uncommon occurrence with high school. Like you don't tend to always stay friends with your high school friends. I know like your friend group's really strong, but a lot of people don't have high school friends essentially. So yeah, I would say like I made a really good group of friends and it like it set me up essentially like learning wise to do what I've done like ongoing.
Yeah. What was it like? This is a question I'm thinking about. What was it like being a female at a mixed gender high school? Because obviously we're about to have a daughter and it's like already thinking about that long term.
Like, whether you go into like same sex school.
Exactly. Because my experience was Bernard's and I don't know, maybe it's just because it's an all boys school, but there's so much like young testosterone filled males that it's a weird concept, I guess, for me to think about going to school with girls during that time. But how did you find it?
I think personally I had no issue with like having boys and girls together. I think I wouldn't have done well at an all girls school. I'm not a girls girl. Like I struggle with like the cattiness because I'm so open and will talk very honestly, and a lot of girls don't like that. My trouble that I had at school was always with girls. It was never with my friends that I was guy friends with. So yeah, I think it's important to have that balance. I would, for my son, definitely be
Mixed gender.
Yeah.
I think if anything, it makes boys less awkward with girls, because you think going to all boys school, it's like, you know, you don't have as many interactions.
Yeah.
But then it's weird because it always seems to be like the Bernard's boys would always hang out with the all girls schools.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they're in the same situation as us.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I mean, like, obviously I had friends like you guys from Bernard's, and like Pat was from St. Pat's and had all the Pat's boys as well. So yeah, like I had quite a few friends that, and Tay obviously went to same-sex schools, and like I think like that you guys all enjoyed it. Like I wouldn't say it was like a bad thing, but I definitely think like you had to have outside friends as well, like obviously for you, like friends from primary and stuff like that were girls. Otherwise you wouldn't, you'd probably be quite an awkward person. I feel like not having anyone.
But I guess having dances and stuff were quite good in that sense. Because that's how you became friends, and it really helps with Mitchell and Jordan.
Yes.
Like being twins, because it was like Jordan's big group and then Mitchell's big group, and that sort of like merged everyone together.
Exactly, yeah. And I think also like having, like you're right, having people that knew each other from other schools as well. Like obviously you knew quite a few people from Hutt High too. Yeah. That like came to the parties.
Tristan went Hutt High, right?
Yeah, exactly. Came to the parties, and that kind of like made it less awkward, I guess. But yeah, for me, I definitely think I would have struggled at a same-sex school.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would nowadays.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
It's weird when I think of education now. I mean, the main takeaway I got from Bernard's was literally my friend group.
Yeah.
I was a really bad student. I didn't really listen at all. And I honestly don't really have any takeaways from school education-wise.
Fair enough.
But like the lifelong friends I couldn't ask for anything else, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's a pretty good perk. So that's the sort of thing I guess I'll be looking for when putting my kid into school in future.
Yeah, for sure. And I think also, you probably would get that more so at a same-sex school, like those really strong friendships that you do have for a long time. And that's probably only because you're in a smaller group. Do you know what I mean? Like I think with your boyfriend group, you guys are all so close because you spent so long like together and in pretty much all the same classes, right? Whereas I had friends that I was friends with in my form class, but I didn't see them all day otherwise. Do you know, like when we're in our big classes with 40 kids, there was like no chance to see those friends.
Even with, we were bad students back in the day, but you get like withdrawn and go to your mate's class, and it was always like pretty crack up when you walk in with the little withdrawal slip.
Yeah, we still had that at Hutt High, but it was more like, I think, go to the dean's office and little desk set up in the corner.
Right. Naughty desk.
Yeah, got that a few times.
So from Hutt Valley High, you went to uni then, right?
Yeah, I did. I went to Massey. I went straight from school, and so year 13 got UE, went to Massey, got into the Bachelor of Nursing program.
And that's in Wellington.
Yeah, so it was in Wellington. So I lived at home at that point. I decided not to go into the halls or not to do like flatting because obviously just so expensive.
And when you're based in Wellington, you know, it seems unnecessary.
For sure. And Pat and I kind of went to uni together, like we drove in together and that sort of stuff. So it worked out really well. Pat's my partner, by the way. If you didn't, obviously, you know Bradley, but so we went in together, and so I did nursing for the first year. I, like anyone, I guess, go into uni thinking, oh, it's like school, you can just mess around, make some friends, you know, that sort of thing. That came crashing down.
It was a lot harder.
Yeah, it was a lot harder than I anticipated. So my subjects at school were very borderline of letting me into uni, only because I hadn't done chemistry, and that's a main component, obviously, in the nursing program,
right? Which
I didn't actually realise initially, like how that was going to impact, but it definitely did. So
what sort of things in chemistry apply to nursing?
I guess it's more just the fact of like the paper that I did end up failing in my first year was human bioscience. So I had done biology at school, but I think it's just the background of knowing like the chemical makeup of the body and like elements of medications and that sort of stuff that really I really lacked on. So yeah, I ended up failing that paper and having to go back the following year to just do that paper.
Right.
So
is there a summer school option or something for
there,
people that fail?
There was. So I did that first paper in semester 1. That was one of my initial 4 papers. And then there was a summer school option, but it was crammed within like I think a 7-week program.
Right.
Over summer, which who really wants to do like that?
Because I guess you're still young, right? So you still want to have your summer.
Exactly. Like I was I was 20 when I started at uni, so yeah, I was like young and didn't really think, oh yeah, sweet, like I'll just go out and still do everything that I wanted to do, but obviously that wasn't going to work. So I did do the summer school paper, but again, I just didn't make enough effort, I guess, to pass, which made it really difficult. So yeah, then I ended up having to go back in
the next year,
what would be my second year, and do the paper again. So.
And you obviously passed the next year when you did it?
Yeah, so I passed that time. I obviously applied myself a bit better, and one of the lecturers was super awesome. There was a group of like 4 of us that were really needing to pass this paper, and he kind of took us under our wing, or under his wing, and yeah, like gave us tutoring and stuff. So that was really awesome because, I mean, at uni that's very hard to come by. They kind of just, if you fail, you fail, right?
So how many years did it take then fully before you can become a nurse?
So the Bachelor of Nursing program's 3 years if you do it full time. So I did 4 years, but I did 3 full years and then that 1 semester.
Yep.
So essentially I did my first year, passed everything else besides that paper, and then went back in my what would be second year and did the paper again, and had a gap year, and then that's when I was working. Was that during that time?
Starbucks.
Yeah, so that's where Starbucks comes into it.
It was good having you at Starbucks. I'd come and get the caramel frappuccino. You would like douse it with the extra. Yeah, it was good. I remember those days.
I know, right? It was definitely a really good, really fun first kind of outside of school job.
And you and Taylor still to this day, right? Like Starbucks girls.
Starbucks addicted.
Go get your Starbies.
Don't ever buy any other coffee. Starbucks is, the shit.
A staple. During your one of those years, I'm guessing maybe third year, did you have to do placements in hospitals? So
we did placements all through. So the program's changed a little bit now to when I did it. But we had placements every year. So first year was in a rest home, and you kind of took on like a caregiver perspective to how you were learning. So you kind of did the personal cares and showering people and feeding people, that sort of stuff. And then second year was when you kind of got to choose like more of a primary healthcare focus or mental health focus or hospital kind of focus.
Right.
And then third year was your choice placement. So you got to choose all of your placements and hospital, primary healthcare, whatever you wanted to do.
What placement did you enjoy the most?
So I always throughout my whole nursing degree, like studying, I wanted to do primary healthcare. So I always wanted to be community based, like practice nursing, that sort of thing. Obviously, mum being a nurse in the hospital, I saw how hard it was, especially with family. When she went on to have my brother and sister, she really struggled to find, care that was where she could drop them off and then start at 7 o'clock. And, like that's not school hours, and she had to work shifts and night shifts and weekends. Yeah, it was really hard. So I always thought I want something that when I have a family that I want to, I want to be able to provide for them, but also make it work in with them in terms of like school hours
Yep.
or no weekends or weekends if I want to, which I'm doing now.
Nice.
But yeah, so yeah,
So
primary health.
primary healthcare, is that when you go, so you go to someone's house?
Yeah, so I mean, there's different aspects. So I first started off as a practice nurse, so that's like working in your GP practice, doing immunisations, wound care, taking bloods, yeah, that sort of stuff. Like basically, working with the GP. I worked at student house, so I had so much autonomy. I loved it. Lots of contraception, sexual health, which was my jam. Like I absolutely love talking to young people about that sort of stuff because I think it's so underutilized and so important.
And it's probably better as well than talking to someone who's still young.
Yeah.
Like if you're talking to someone who's real old, sometimes you just don't really want to listen to them.
Yeah, for sure. And I also think, like a lot of people think practice nurses or, GP nurses is that kind of old lady that walks in that's like set to retire any moment to give you, injection, and you're like, oh, that really hurt because you probably haven't done this much recently. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think I obviously worked with a great team at Student Health where there were lots of like very senior nurses, but there was a lot of young as well,
right.
Which I think definitely attributed to the fact of why I stayed there for a while. And I still go there and I still love it there as a casual nurse even now, because I think they just make such an impact on their students, and the students get so much out of like their like medical practice there. I mean, at uni I never once went to the student health at Massey. We didn't even know about it. Like it wasn't a big thing, whereas I feel like at Vic it was just such a big thing. Like you got hurt, you go down to student health. You need contraceptive pill, you go down to student health. Like we had an acute clinic that was a very much open door policy, which I think is important.
What are your thoughts on the NZ health system, I guess?
Oh, such a bad question. Nah.
I don't want to get you in trouble either.
Nah, yeah. Obviously, working in healthcare now, like in my job now, I work for the DHB. I think it's just underutilized, under-resourced, underfunded. It's just a bad time. But I also think that there's a perception that a lot of people have on the healthcare system and the health, like nurses and doctors and that sort of stuff, that is very negative. And I find that quite difficult at times when people, put that onto us and we're just a big, little fish in this big, huge pond.
Are you saying like people get annoyed with you? Like if there's a big wait time or something?
Exactly. Like, for example, like in district nursing, we prioritise our patients as to, like generally medications come first and then wound care after. If we have any time visits, we obviously see people within, like a timely manner, but we can't give everyone a set time on when we're going to come, obviously. And I can understand from a human perspective that that's a very hard thing. Sometimes you've got things to do.
Yep.
But if we give, like a phone call or something beforehand and say, hey, look, we're going to come now. And then they're just, absolutely not. Or, just quite difficult. Like we're trying to work in a place where we're, still got 10 other people to see, but we want to come and see you and help you. And it's just really hard. Like I know a lot of people, like my friends that work in ED, find it really difficult because it's always coming up on the community pages like, oh, I just sat in ED for 15 hours just for the doctor to send me home and back to the GP, or not being able to get GP appointments. And I think it's unfortunate, but it is a reflection on, obviously, the healthcare system at the minute.
And like you say, it's just under-resourced, right?
Exactly. And I think there's so much more funding that could go into a lot of things. Like, for example, promoting people to become practice nurses as a get-go. I know from NetP, a lot of people struggled to get practice nurse jobs. They were all like, oh, here we go, let's go into the hospital. You do your dues in the hospital before you get to do that type of job. And I think that perception is really difficult because if you prevent things first in primary health care and, you know, prevent these STIs from happening and prevent UTIs and give education where it's needed and that sort of stuff, that's going to prevent ED wait times, right?
Well, that's the whole issue with like America's system, right? Is it's all reactive, not preventative.
Yeah.
It's just like you come in, then they say, oh, okay, just take these pills.
Yeah.
It's the same as pain relief, I feel.
Yeah.
I mean, it definitely has its place because when you're in a lot of pain, you just like, give me these drugs.
Yeah.
But all it is masking the pain. It's not actually fixing the problem, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I 100% agree. I think like a lot of people struggle with, you know, like further education and all that sort of stuff. But this is how it's going to change if we get more people interested in nursing and, you know, these types of professions that are so underutilized and under-resourced.
Yep.
That is what's going to help. And, you know, like prime example, student nurses don't get paid for their placements. They're still expected to go for 9 weeks and work in a place and do the same hours.
That's not right, eh?
No. And, you know, there's a petition for that to happen at the minute where, you know, they get paid, you know, like even minimum wage or just half a minimum wage, like an apprentice wage, where they then don't have to work and they can put all their effort into making this placement work.
And do you think when you were doing the placement, you were a burden on the system, or you were helping?
I feel like I was definitely a help in the third year. I think every student nurse probably feels like a bit of a burden in their first and second year when you're kind of like, where's this? And I'm sorry, can I ask this question again?
Because I'm just thinking the pay aspect, you know,
Yeah.
like if you are actually contributing to the working of the hospital, then surely you deserve to get paid.
For sure. And I think even on the flip side of things now, as like a preceptor of student nurses, like I have student nurses come out with me all the time on the road, and like we orientate them and all that sort of stuff. I think that actually needs to be recognised by the DHB as well, like for staff doing that further education of the younger generation.
Yep.
It needs to be recognised. And like I understand that that's part of a you know, our kind of like what we're meant to do as nurses and just, you know, like share knowledge and that sort of stuff. But it is a hard task to have a student nurse at times. And that's why I think if they were getting paid and feeling a bit happier about, you know, coming into placement and the nurse was getting recognised as well and had extra time to support that education, that would definitely benefit. But yeah, I think it's just unfortunately such a bad time, and it's been so hard as well, like with COVID and everything that's gone on.
Hectic. I think a lot of people criticise the NZ system, but lately I've had a few incidences where I'm like very appreciative of the NZ health system. Yeah. I was actually talking with Kyle this morning on the way to JITS, but he was saying whenever he tries to book a doctor's appointment, sometimes it'd be like 4 weeks till he can get an appointment. Yeah. But last week I was pretty sick with food poisoning. Yes. And I called up my doctor, and then I literally got a same day appointment. Yeah. Did it on the phone. He prescribed me some like anti-cramp medication and stuff. Yeah. Tay picked it up same day in Countdown Wainui, and it was all free. Like all the drugs were free. I don't know if that's a countdown thing or... I think it is kind of nationwide now, but I also think that they are starting to pull back a little bit on the free meds depending on like what it is. But you look at systems like in Australia, right? Like my mum lives there now, and she obviously lived here beforehand. Kids here have always been from, you know, birth to 12 years, I think it was. Their prescriptions and GPs are free. Over in Australia, that's not how it works. Is it not?
No.
I actually thought they had a good medical system. I thought it was free for like everyone.
They do at hospitals, but they have what's called a bulk billing service. So if you go to a bulk billing GP, I believe that it is somewhat free to do with like how they bill to the government or something like that. I'm not 100% certain, but I just know that even though you go to the GP for free, you're getting medication, right? And you get a prescription with, say, 3 things on it. Yep. You pay like $40 per item. Yeah, that's brutal. Even at their chemist warehouse and free things like we have here. So I think in some ways we are very lucky. You're right. Like go down to Countdown, get a free prescription, and
well, even
you're
like
away,
we pay for our GP visit.
Yeah.
But the time before that, I was keen to get some bloods done, which is this whole like preventative thing.
Yes.
Which I know a lot of them don't like, but my doctor was real good about it, and he prescribed me so many different bloods to do, and I didn't have to pay for any of them.
Yeah. So see, the thing is that I feel GPs should be more open with that sort of stuff, because obviously there's a reason you're going and asking for those bloods to be done. It's not like you're just asking for no reason. And obviously if you have a clinical indication as to why you want them done, like obviously possibly, you know, like jiu-jitsu, or you're wanting to make sure you're having enough iron or that sort of stuff.
It's more just most people have no idea about their base levels.
Exactly.
And I listened to a few podcasts, even like Hoodman and stuff, and he's like, you should definitely get your base level bloods done. So at least in 10 years, if you get sick, you have something to compare it to.
Yeah,
like if you go back in 10 years and your iron is completely different, it's like, well, what's going on here?
Yeah.
But if they got nothing to base it off, then it's just, you know.
Exactly. And I think it's also important, you know, for people that are like younger to do it as well. And then when they go on to have children and that sort of stuff, obviously, Tay being pregnant at the minute, like it's quite, your body changes so much, and you get, you know, like obviously your iron levels can drop and that sort of stuff, and it's important to know what's going on so that if there was an underlying issue, then it's picked up fast.
Yep.
Whereas you're right, like a lot of GPs have issue with doing preventative bloods unless, you know, like it's direly needed. And I think that should be a change, because like I mean, that picks up things. It picks up, you know, your risk for, like, depending on what blood you're getting, obviously, but it can pick up your risk for heart attack and all that sort of stuff. And I mean, that's such a killer in New Zealand. So, well,
I actually got my lipid tests done, so like cholesterol and stuff, and my cholesterol was quite high. Yeah, and I think it's just all the fats and stuff I ate. Yeah, but that's a whole different story, because like I'm sort of convinced that it's not a problem. Yeah, I listen to doctors online; they say it's not a problem, but then, you know, the general healthcare system says it is a problem. So it's like you're just balancing.
I think it's all in balance, right? Like it's it is hard to like hear, I guess, that it's over or under or whatever, but whatever works for you. That's always been my mentality in terms of things with when I was a practice nurse and that sort of stuff, just telling people, you know, if it works for you, that's fine. We would recommend that you do X, Y, and Z to reduce it a little bit. But if you're finding that you're feeling well and healthy, then great.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Everyone knows their own body. Like I know if I'm feeling bad or not. Yeah. And if I'm feeling good. But then I do sometimes worry. I was talking to Josh about this, that I go down rabbit holes, and it's like I don't
on the internet.
Yeah, I don't want to be degrading my health, I guess. But I'm always got good intentions. Yeah. Thinking I'm doing the right thing, but maybe sometimes I'm not. You know.
Yeah, and I think like everyone's going to be different, right? There's always things that people are like, oh, hell no, I wouldn't take that if you paid me. But, you know, I think with saying that is that, you know, there's, where am I going with this? I am not going anywhere with this. No, but like if you feel like it's something you need to do for yourself, or you feel like it's good for you, then that's fine. And if you don't, then don't do it.
And I actually quite enjoy now having a young doctor, because I recently changed.
Yeah.
My older doctor was fine, and I always used to say she was real good if I had skin issues or like maybe breathing issues or ear stuff. Yeah. Like she'd suss it straight away. But if it was anything like health related, then I'm like, oh, can I get some bloods done? Or what do you think about this diet, that diet? Yeah. So she has no idea.
A lot of, I've found that too. And a lot of, the kind of like older generation don't necessarily have that, you know, recent education, could you say? And that's not a dig at all, but I just think that, you know, like these young ones that come out of med school, like bright and bubbly, sometimes are, you know, they're like the same age as us. They look on TikTok, they look on Instagram and see these diets and that sort of stuff, and they do understand a bit better. Yeah, whereas some others don't. No.
Well, that was another question I had for you. Do you guys get ongoing training, or is it like you do your uni and that's it?
So nurses are really good. We have to, we're really good, thanks. No, but we have to maintain a professional development record. So to get our annual practicing certificates, we have to have upheld, I think it's 350 hours in the last 3 years.
Right.
So that includes things like study days, ongoing education, postgraduate education. So obviously, for me, I chose to go down the postgrad route, and have since done my postgraduate diploma in nursing and health science. Not everyone will. You will get some that just do the kind of basic study days and that sort of stuff, or like, education at work and that sort of stuff, which is fine. But I definitely think, like, I'm a strong believer that education doesn't stop when you're in the job. I always push my colleagues to be going out and looking at what postgrad they can do, and
I guess being on the tools as well, though, like you being out there doing it, you are in a way keeping active, right?
Exactly. And I think also just keeping open as well, like obviously doing practice nursing and then going into district nursing, having the difference in age, obviously young students to mostly older adults. We get some young people, but mostly older people. And then just like I still go back and do CTA work and looking at potentially doing some marking for undergrad program. It's just keeping that knowledge open. I think so much has changed in the program even since I did nursing initially.
Well, medicine's constantly evolving, right?
Yeah.
So you sort of do have to keep up with the times.
For sure. And I think that's important to do. But yeah, we do get some, obviously in district just specifically, we do vac dressings and PIC line cares. Right. So that's quite specialised, and you have to do further training like on the job to be able to actually go out and do them, and then you have to maintain competencies like throughout the year. So
yeah, cool. Have you ever looked to go elsewhere for nursing? The only reason I asked that is one of the boys that I train with, his partner went to, I think, Saudi Arabia. She got like a 6-month gig. Yeah. And from what he told me, it's like she got paid ridiculous money.
Yeah, it's good money, I think. I definitely did before I had Beau. We were looking at going and doing some rural contracts in Western Australia. I think I've never really been that interested in going too far overseas. I want to travel overseas, but I'm a bit of a homebody.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I think that I would just probably struggle being away for too long.
Well, now that you have Beau, everything's changed, right?
Exactly. But even then, before that, I was always like, I don't want to leave Pat, and like, mum was still over here and stuff with the kids, and I just found like it was a bit much. But I think, definitely would be something that would interest me if I was to, live in Australia in the future, to do something like that, like a fly in, fly out type
FIFO
role.
work.
Yeah, FIFO.
Yeah,
don't know how to say it. But yeah, like I feel like that would be really awesome to, just expand your knowledge as well. There's so many worlds out there that we don't even know about, like in different ways of living. So I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about Beau.
Yes.
What was that
My
moment?
little baby.
Yeah, what was that moment like when you first saw him?
Oh, it was the best moment. I know everyone will say that to you. Getting a bit emotional now. But it was a long road, I guess you could say, to get there. Like I say this and I really shouldn't, but I just really didn't like being pregnant. Right. I felt myself and my head and everything like that just wasn't me. I felt
like the mix of what's the words? Like all your endorphins and stuff.
Yeah, and I guess like hormones and all that sort of stuff running wild. I moved house. I got another dog. I did so much. Well, we built a house, moved into that house, had to rent out our house. It was like crazy. Crazy time, like all around having a baby. So had family fallouts, friend fallouts. What else do you want? But yeah, no, I think it was just amazing to get to that end point where he was here. And I felt like he was just, this little tiny angel had been given to me, and now you have to look after him.
Crazy, eh?
It's like they don't come with a book. What?
My brother actually asked all my grandparents that question, and Granddad was funny because he was like, you know, a horse just like comes out, shakes off, and then it's walking around. Whereas like you have this baby, and if you don't look after it, it'll literally die. Yeah. So it's like it's all on you.
Exactly. I remember Pat and I got home, so we were in hospital for one night, but the doctors wanted to do a blood test on Beau, so we ended up waiting basically till 10 p.m. the following night to do the blood test, and then they managed to discharge us home because we weren't that keen on staying another night in hospital. Anyway, we got home that night and he slept like an angel. He slept like pretty much 5 hours. I was like, holy, this is like unheard of, right? Like you hear of babies that don't sleep and they cry all night and whatnot. Anyway, the next night, the second night, you'll hear about the second night when you have your baby. Everyone will tell you about it. And he was up all the time. I put him down, he cried. I put him here, he cried. Pat held him, he cried. Like he just wanted me.
Yep.
And it's the night that your milk comes in when you're breastfeeding, and they just want to be attached to you like the whole time. And it was the hardest night, but it was the best night as well, because it was just so rewarding to see that, like, obviously what my body could do was what he wanted. It
was pretty amazing, eh?
Yeah.
Seeing that transition.
Exactly.
It's definitely increased my respect for females, seeing like Taylor go through it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, as a boy growing up, you obviously know that girls give birth, but you just don't really get it until you see it happen.
Exactly. And I think, like, obviously, like going through a pregnancy, your body changing for 9 months is pretty insane as it is. Your body changes, put on all that weight, get rid of all that weight. It's pretty insane. But I think just even the fact of like seeing all the scans and your baby growing, and then getting to that point at the end where you get to literally like hold this baby that you've been looking at, not really even seeing their face, right? Like on a black and white 2D kind of scan, you don't actually know this person.
But you must have, I feel like obviously the dads have an attachment to some point, but you obviously must have a stronger connection because it's literally grown inside of you, right? For 9 months.
I don't know. I feel like I obviously can't speak for Pat in that sense, but he was, like we both, I remember looking at Pat like as soon as Beau came out, and he got put straight on my chest because that's what I said I wanted. Like, you know, first initial skin to skin contact, so important. And he came out, and I just looked at him, and just like initially my instincts took over, and I just started rubbing him to make sure he was crying and okay. Like, because initially you're like, the baby should be crying. Why is the baby not crying? Yeah. But anyway, I was rubbing him and everything, and he was just so settled. And I looked at Pat and I was like, why is he so chill? And we just like looked at each other and had like this moment. Like, he'll say he didn't cry, but we both were definitely crying.
It would be an emotional moment.
Yeah, for sure. And I wish I could look back on it now, but I have the best memories of that time. Like, it was a hard, like, 32 hours. Thanks, Beau.
That is pretty rough.
But no, I wouldn't change it for the world. He's amazing.
No, that's awesome. Did you get was it 3 days after birth that you get like that hormone crash? Did you get that at all?
I don't think I really, I can't think of it. So I don't think I had anything notable. Yeah. I had my midwife coming each day, which was really nice for the first, I think, 3-4 days.
Oh, true. That's cool.
Which was amazing care. Like, honestly, midwives are angels. Like, they say nurses are angels. No, midwives are angels. She sat with me that whole time I was in hospital. She didn't even have a break. I was like, you are a gem.
30 something hours.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I was at home, so I started in labour on 4 p.m. on the Friday. Initially, that was like when my contractions started. And then I went into hospital after my waters broke on the Saturday in the morning. So yeah, it was basically from like 8 a.m. she sat with me until 9:30, and then beyond until like 11. Like, yeah, It was
and it is
insane.
crazy because midwives have to put their life on hold too, right?
Exactly.
Like if they had plans, they just have to cancel those plans for you.
For sure. Like she was on call that day, but obviously her on-call day became a work day. Yeah, absolute angels. But yeah, I think, where was I going with that?
I got another question for you. What's been the most challenging and rewarding parts of being a mum?
I think like just seeing him learn and grow for sure. Like I was literally like lying in bed this morning, and Pat always gets Beau out of bed and brings him into me, and I feed him in bed in the morning when he wakes up, and he literally just like rolled over and goes and does this little kiss thing now, and Pat's like, give mummy a kiss, give daddy a kiss. Is so cute. And I just am like, oh my god, he's like literally learnt that. And he's also learnt like, all done, like puts his hands up like this, all done. And I'm like, oh my god, it's the cutest thing ever. But he's obviously picked this up from Pat and I, and like our mannerisms and what we do, and it's just amazing. Like they learn so fast.
Well, I mean, that they literally will learn a whole language just from observing you guys talk, right?
Exactly.
Like Beau's going to know how to speak English in 1 or 2 years.
Yeah, for sure. And he's already saying so many things. Like, I'm like, holy. Like, he's a little bit late on the walking game, but that's okay. He's getting there now. But just his vocabulary is, like, amazing. And, yeah.
What sort of things does he say? Did he say dada first?
He said mama first, of course.
Mama
Gotta
boy.
say mama, yeah. He says mama, baba, dada. And then he says, like, the variations, like mum, dad. And then he says, like, nana.
Yeah.
He says, yum, 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 like he goes like that, which I think he's got from me because I sit there and go, yum, yum. Obviously not knowing, and he's taken that in. And yeah, he just like is, pointing at things. So like he obviously sees Coco, and like that's the dog. And he would normally, I guess, say dog, but he goes and like says like Coco, but it's like
he's trying to get
it out. Yeah, so he's definitely starting to say like amazing things, and it's just crazy how much he's learnt. He's only one, like,
and it's, I mean, I can see it in your face, but you clearly get fulfillment just from the smallest things, right, from your child, for
sure. And I think like you don't realize until you become a mum or a dad like how actually it changes your life. Like, I know people say like, oh, you end up having a baby and then you can't do anything. Like, I'd give everything up, like doing everything for myself, like just to make Beau happy. And it's insane that you, like, you know, that question you asked me before of like, how did you feel when he was first born? It's like an instant love. Like, you just, you get given this thing that's your child. Obviously, you've been growing him for 9 months or watching him grow for 9 months. And yeah, it's just like an instant love. Like, you just feel it.
And I've heard people say that, you know, for the first time in your life, you're not the most important thing. Yeah, it's like, for sure, your life now doesn't revolve around you. It's like all about this child that you brought into the world. Yeah, exactly. And I know, you know, like, yeah, for us, it was such a big choice to have a baby. Like, obviously, Pat's dad unfortunately passed away a few years ago, and it was such a big thing that, you know, Pat and I wanted to continue on, you know, Pat's legacy. He's got no other siblings, you know, that he sees immediately. Yep. And I obviously have my siblings, but I always wanted children. And I think it's like so amazing to see like your family line like come down. Like, Beau is Pat's mini-me. Like, he looks exactly like Pat, and it's just so cute to see. But also, I was looking back at photos yesterday when I was clearing out stuff, and I literally saw my brother. Like, I got a photo of me and my brother at that age, and Riley was like, I think 2 at the point of that photo. And it was like, holy, that's Beau. Yeah,
like,
that's crazy.
It's just how the lines come down. And like, when he was first born, everyone's like, he's a mini Kevin, which is my granddad. Right. I was just like, oh my gosh. So that's so cute to see like all the little throwbacks of people in your child as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what's been some of the challenging parts of being a mum?
I think the phases that you go through with them. Like, obviously, as he's growing up now, he's starting to get into a lot more and, you know, grabbing onto things and starting biting and that sort of stuff. I find that would be quite hard. I don't find it challenging too much at the moment, but I can probably foresee that it's going to get a bit harder as his attitude and personality grows.
So it's trying to find that balance of how do you discipline him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And like wanting to not throw back always to things like of anger and, you know, like don't do that and stuff. Like teaching him a better way to do things, I think is key. Probably my most challenging part of being a mum has been breastfeeding, for sure. You feel a bit like a cow at times, which is fine, like obviously, but I still breastfeed Beau now and he's nearly 15 months. Not exclusively now. He's obviously eating full solids and that sort of stuff as well. But
what age did they start eating full solids?
So from 6 months you can start giving them solids, I believe. He started at 5. Plunkett will kind of tell you what's best for your baby, I guess, and you just kind of make it work for you guys as well. But yeah, he started at 5 months, and then from about 9 months he was eating like 3 full meals.
True.
Yeah, he's always been a good eater.
He's
good. Regressing a little bit at the minute because he's teething really badly, his molars, but yeah.
But I feel like you did the right thing breastfeeding, because I've done a lot of research into it and it definitely seems like the way to go for development of the baby.
For sure. And I think like as much as it was hard, you know, sacrificing that, like, I mean, the thing is with breastfeeding, and exclusively breastfeeding as well, not bottle feeding your breast milk, which I did for a long time, but then I also made sure that I was able to pump so that Pat could have that connection with Beau as well, which I think is really important for the dad to be able to feed the baby too, because I just think that, you know, like obviously feeding is a very intimate thing in a way, like, you know, you're feeding that baby so that they're not hungry and that they're satisfied and then they can go to sleep, right?
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, it is important that the dad can have that bond too.
Well, you actually see it in animals too, right?
Exactly.
Like if you feed your dog or your cat, it's like they love you because they know that you
can provide.
Yeah, you're literally the parent giving them food.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, so Pat fed Beau, like obviously express breast milk, through a bottle from, I think it was like 3 weeks. We brought that in just so that he could have that, you know, bond and connection as well. But yeah, majority of the time it was me, and it was me getting up at night time and that sort of stuff. Right.
That's what would be rough.
And that was quite hard. Obviously Pat going back to work after 2 weeks was really hard as well. Like I just felt, not necessarily for me, but more so for him having, you know, like him having a baby and then having to go back to work 2 weeks later. Reality. I just felt like so bad that he couldn't have the same as me, like being able to be home and seeing all those moments for Beau. But I guess he's fine with it, like, and he's so good, such an attentive dad when he's at home. He's always like tickling him and running around, like doing things, which is nice. So yeah. So
would you recommend that I definitely take 2 weeks off?
Yeah, I think so. I think it would be really helpful for Tay. And yeah, but I mean, everyone's different. I think Tay is amazing. She'll thrive at the independence too.
Yeah, she's always been very independent.
Yeah, I think she will be awesome mummy, and I'm just around the corner for all those little snuggles and making Tay nice things to eat.
Well, it's actually really good that you have a 1-year-old, because if Taylor needs help with anything, you've sort of just been through it.
Yeah,
so you
for
can,
sure.
Whereas if you didn't have a kid, there wouldn't really be anyone.
Yeah.
It would just be grandparents and stuff, but it's been, 20-something years since they've had kids.
Yeah, exactly. I found that quite hard too. I mean, Pat's friends have had babies, but none of my really close, like Taylor and I close friends have had babies anytime recently. The closest would be Lisa, and she was absolutely amazing, like giving all this advice and stuff. But it has changed a lot as well. Like her daughter's now 6.
It was crazy seeing her at Beau's party. It's like she's so growing up.
I know, it's insane. It goes so fast though. That would be my one, oh gosh, knocking the mic over. That would be my one piece of advice is the days are long, but the years are short. Like
True.
it will go so fast. This last year has gone insanely fast, and yeah, I wouldn't change those hard days for the world.
I feel like it's gone fast even for me without a child.
Yeah.
I reckon the older you get, the faster the years go by. Eh?
Oh, for sure. I literally said to Pat the other day, I was like, fuck, it's September already.
Yeah. And it's like we're 27.
It's nearly Christmas.
Just
I know.
like that. Well, I feel like an old man now, you know?
And I was like, also like, it's September and the baby is coming soon.
yeah, definitely.
Yay. So
I'm
exciting.
excited. What are your hopes for Beau when he grows up? What do you want him to be? What do you want him to become?
That's a really like hard question. I guess you could like, obviously I just want him to be happy. That probably sounds really cliche, right? But yeah, I just hope that he's happy in everything that he does. I mean, Pat and I work really hard to try and provide as best as we can for him so that he's set up well for the future.
Are you scared of the future? Like raising kids in this day and age could be quite scary for some people, right? With all the technology and just all the change that's happening.
Yeah. I mean, I've never been one that's good with change. I think probably moving so much when I was younger made me very much like I want to sit down and stay in that place. Because obviously moving all the time was quite like hard. But yeah, I just think that he will thrive. Like I can already see he's got such an amazing, kind personality. He shares so well with people and, you know, like is so good with animals. Like he's amazing with Coco and even Beans. Like he knows like Beans is the grumpy old man and doesn't want to be touched. So he, you know, respects that as well.
How cool was his birthday party with you bringing all the animals?
I know. He absolutely loves animals. So Pat's mum was like, you've got to have some animals there.
What animals did you bring?
I think there was, a donkey, a goat, sheep, a couple of dogs, some bunnies. I think that was it, eh?
Yeah, and that was a big ram.
Yeah, it was like a huge ram.
Well, and the goat, he was cheeky. He got off the off the leash and he was running around trying to eat everyone's food.
And he did that at my cousin's son's birthday party as well. He literally like went and stole this kid's fairy bread. I was like, you cheeky little shit.
Well, they put this tiny little rake in the ground and then think that it's going to stop him.
I know, I was, quite surprised when I saw, like, how they held them back. But, yeah, no, it was amazing, so.
It was weird because Taylor was like, go up and pet it. Are you scared of it? And I'm like, I'm not scared of it. But, like, last week I was, like, hunting his brothers, so it's a bit weird for me to, you know, like, go up and pet him.
He might sense that you harmed his family when you were doing that.
Nah, he was just looking for food, even when I went up to him.
Yeah. No, that, I loved his party. It was amazing. I know lots of people will say, like, oh, why'd you put so much effort into a first birthday party? They don't remember it, but I remember it.
Yeah, it's cool for everyone else.
Yeah, exactly. And I know, like, all my family really enjoyed it. Mum came over with my brother and sister from Australia, and some of Pat's family came down. And, yeah, it was just amazing, like a real nice celebration of the last year of Beau's life. So that was amazing.
On the technology front, I just worry myself that you know, you look at kids nowadays and they're all just glued to their devices.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know what it does to me. You probably know as well. Like if you're scrolling for a certain amount of time, you just feel like you're frying your brain.
Yeah.
And I worry that kids are going to grow up doing that.
Yeah, I worry like that as well. Obviously, my sister being 10, or 11 now, she's addicted to her phone and all that sort of stuff, and even Tay's sisters and stuff. Like, it's very easy to see that a lot of kids nowadays rely on technology. Even if you friends, their children are very much, you know, glued to the TV shows and stuff.
How do you think you're going to navigate that with Beau growing up? So
Pat and I have always thought we hated the idea of a kid sitting at tea with their iPad on so that they'll eat their dinner. Beau hasn't watched any TV apart besides from obviously what's on in the background from us, like our own TV. He hasn't watched any kids TV shows up until I think it was about a week ago, and he was having a really bad day with teething, and I was semi-sick and not really feeling it. Pat was at work, so I said to Pat, I'm just going to chuck on the Wiggles for like 10 minutes, and he loved it. True. Obviously, the bright lights and the music and that sort of stuff. But I think just limiting it as well. Like, I mean, that was the first time. He's only watched it, you know, like a time since then. And yeah, I think it's just really important to know that there's books and games and stuff, and just providing those boundaries from the get-go as well, like not just shoving your kid in front of a TV so that you can do something.
Well, that's it. Like, I mean, I don't judge people for doing it, but I can understand why they do it, you know? Like, if your kid's playing up and you're tired, you're like, just go on the iPad. And then they'll just sit there on the iPad for hours and leave you in silence. Yeah. But it's almost, I guess you got to try your best to not do that, right? Yeah. And just spend
I think
quality time.
Yeah, I think that's what Pat and I definitely don't want to do. You're right. I think it's, as bad as it sounds, it's the easy way of parenting, but it's the hardest way of parenting too, because they get reliant on it, and then they get annoyed at you for not letting them have it.
Yeah, like, so, you just want to sit down and have a convo with them, and they don't want to talk to you because they just want to go on the iPad.
Exactly. And like, just sitting at dinner, like before we had Beau, and seeing kids sitting there with like their devices and eating their tea with headphones on, and you're like, are you not going to talk to your parents? Like, I was always raised under the, you know, understanding and assumption that tea time was like you sit down and you talk to whoever you're having tea with, you know.
I'm pretty keen to start that family tradition too, because I mean, Taylor's family's pretty good at it. It's like no phones at the table, and it is the one time, I guess, everyone lives busy lives, but it's the one time that you can get everyone together
for sure.
You can talk about your day and talk about your problems or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's definitely the way to like counteract it, I guess, and knowing a time and a place for it as well. Like, obviously, if you're having a hard day and you want to chuck it on, and giving them 10 minutes so that you can go to the toilet or have a break or something, like totally understand that. But just not shoving them in front of it and saying, see you later, I'm doing my own stuff now for the whole day, you know, which unfortunately a lot of kids have nowadays.
But also kids pick up their habits from their parents, right? So you can't tell your kid to not go on their phone, but then you're just on your phone all day, you know? They're going to obviously want to do it if that's what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm going to try to teach my girl how to play chess from as early age as possible.
That's a good idea.
Train her up. Hopefully she becomes better than me, and then she can teach me the ways.
That's always good. Always good to get your kid into something.
Yeah, I remember learning stuff Dire Street back in the day, like lots of board games and stuff like that, and I always enjoyed.
Do you remember what do you call it? You know those ones, knuckle bones.
I remember knuckle bones.
I love knuckle bones. We used to play that in the library. Do you remember that?
And there was those ones with the marbles.
I think I can remember that.
Forgot what that's. Mikayla, maybe.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and the wooden board, with the little holes. Yeah,
that was good.
I loved that.
See, I hope kids these days have those memories. You know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like getting out there, and I quite like some of these schools now are banning devices in schools.
For sure.
Which I think is a good thing.
And I think like there's an important place for technology and an important place for devices, but I don't think it's always at home. And I think just installing that in your like kids early, like obviously with Pat and I, you know, making sure Beau has puzzles and you know, like cars and that sort of stuff, like things that aren't technology based, toys and books as well, like is a huge thing. And I think that's definitely attributed even to his vocabulary now. Obviously he doesn't say every word, but like, I mean, he's getting on his way to saying a lot of things.
Is this because you
and
like
that's we books? Read to him. Yeah, we read to him all the time. So, and his nanas and stuff do too. So I think it's really important.
Well, I'm starting to realize the older I get, there's so much wisdom from reading books.
Yeah,
I honestly feel like it's a life hack. If you read books and other people aren't, you just can obtain so much more knowledge.
For sure.
Than the person that's not doing it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm quite bad and I say I don't have time. I don't have time to read a book and blah blah blah, but it's like even 5 minutes of just reading a chapter of something, you know, even if it's a book on, someone's biology or something like that. You know what I mean? Like it's...
You got to make time almost, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm the same. Once I get reading, it's all good. But it's actually the task of getting the book out, opening it up. Especially because there's so many distractions, right? You'd rather just go on your phone or do something else.
Yeah, for sure.
What are some of your other hobbies, Kayla?
Oh, I don't know. I used to play netball, but I don't anymore. I like walking the dogs on the beach. Oh yeah, that's good hobby, I guess.
Yep, the dogs probably love it too.
Yeah, they definitely do. On the off-lead beach, it's very good. Just hanging out with Pat, family.
What about photography?
Yeah, I was going to say I do like photography. Obviously, I took your guys' maternity photos. Your guys, that's such good English, isn't it? I took your photos for your maternity shoot, and I haven't done anything like that in ages, to be honest, but it definitely sparked something in me. I was editing the photos and seeing how good they turned out.
Yeah, they were real good.
Yeah, they turned out amazing, so I was pretty happy with them.
Whose idea was it? Taylor's idea to go to that spot?
I think she said where could we go with a nice sunset, because I think the idea was that she wanted them kind of overly orange and saturated.
It was crazy orange too.
Yeah, it was such a good
rush.
sunset.
We're we need to go right now.
It was we got there and it was just
there was 2 minutes till sunset, right, when we got on the beach.
Yeah, I was quick, stand there, quick, hold her.
I mean, we got a couple with the sun, but even when the sun dropped down, it was still super orange. Yeah, so the photos turned out real nice.
They turned out amazing.
Have you thought about doing a business or anything with that?
When I was editing them, I was I could definitely do this. I think, unfortunately, there's so much personal perception and artistic things. Obviously, Pat being a designer and having that kind of day-to-day struggle where people critique his work all the time and it's really hard. I don't know if I'd be one that would be great with criticism. I mean, in my job, it's very black and white, right? You do this way and that's how you're meant to do it. That's the role of that medication or whatever.
I get what you mean. You could say, this is an amazing photo, but they're going to look at it and be like, nah, it's not.
Yeah, it's pretty shit. And then I would get very upset.
Yeah. I could see you getting upset there.
Nah, I think I'm not great with criticism. So I don't know if it would be something that I would like to do full time, but I definitely think as a family thing or whatever. I mean, I've always been big on photos, even with family and Beau and stuff. We do our Christmas photos every year. Yep. In our PJs, which Patrick hates.
Well, I know the feeling being as a man, because you just muck around with photos and it's it's not the right one, take another one.
No, you've got to have photos. You've got to look back on photos. I've always been a big thing. My auntie instilled it from such a young age in me. You never get that time. You never get to actually see that time in your life back unless you have a photo. So she always said to me, take photos, take photos, take photos.
Oh, it is cool looking back on old family photos and stuff.
For sure. And just I'm probably that mum that's quick, take a photo of what he's doing, with Beau. But I look back on photos now and I'm oh my gosh, I just love how looking at that photo makes me feel about how that time was. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah,
and you can pass it down too. You can show them when they're older and they can see.
For sure. Yeah. I think those photos that we did for you guys though turned out so nice. And baby girl can look back on them and see them one day. Yep. Be that was me in mummy's tummy.
Yeah, exactly. What about your little cake making business or making cakes? Is that a hobby?
Cake sideline? Yeah, I would definitely say it's a hobby. I don't know. I always just liked baking when I was younger. And I still definitely do it now. I more so do it for things obviously for events and stuff. Sometimes people will be keen on some baking.
Yeah, or a big birthday cake or something.
Yeah. I've made a few people's cakes and stuff. I definitely enjoy it. I get to the point though where I'm very pedantic about certain things. I've seen
they're pretty artistic, even your little cupcakes.
Oh, yes. And then I'm sat there and Pat's why do you do this to yourself?
Yeah. Well, Taylor's the same when she bakes. It's bit of a bombshell in the kitchen.
It has to be perfect.
Yeah, but afterwards, I mean, I can't complain when I just eat it. Well, this is great.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely, I definitely enjoy it. I think, I don't know, I don't think I'd ever do it again for a business. It's just that creativity, like flair, I guess, that I can do for myself and what someone wants. I don't have the bigger ideas, I don't think, is what I'm trying to say, to make like things original. Like I'm happy to do what people want from a photo and that sort of stuff, but I don't know, I feel like that's where I brought Pat in, because he's the creative one and I'm just the one that will execute.
Yeah.
He helps me with his creative flair.
Well, I guess on that, you guys are landlords, right?
Yeah.
What was that whole experience like? Because you said you built while you were living in your house in Upper Hutt, wasn't it?
So Pat and I have been together for 10 years this year, and he built on the back of his mum's section, subdivided it and built a house there.
Did he help design that as well?
He didn't at that time. He just did a kit set build, because obviously it was just going to be a rental initially. So the cheapest kind of option, I guess. So he really enjoyed that. He built it with his dad, and we had a lot of input on that house because obviously it was on the back of his mum's section. So we kind of saw it pop up, and got to see it being built and, from the ground up essentially, which was really, really cool. And then, we chose to build our house together that we wanted to live in. So we rented that out initially, and then Pat and I lived in it for a good few years afterwards.
You're talking the one in Upper Hutt?
The one in Upper Hutt, yeah. And then when we had finished building our house in Wainui, we obviously decided to rent that one out.
Yeah, so now you've got tenants in there.
Yeah.
Do you guys manage it yourselves?
We do. Yeah, we do. We manage it ourselves. I think it just gives a lot more autonomy to how we want things kind of to go. We can, if we want to do any maintenance, it's not like we have to go through a property manager to say, hey, can we go on the property and can you ask the tenant and blah, blah, blah. Like we can directly message our tenants and they're super chill at, like letting us to go on and do things. Yeah.
Plus the property manager takes what, like 8%?
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
and that was
a big chunk.
Yeah, that was a big thing as well. Like obviously, in the market, we kind of wanted to keep it as well off for ourselves as possible, I guess. But our tenants are great. And I think the process has been really, really good as well. I mean, we're not experts in any mindset whatsoever, having only one rental property, but I suppose because Mum rented and I knew quite a lot about like renting from a renter's perspective, it was kind of nice and good to have that experience. But just following like obviously the tenancy stuff online and
Did you find that overwhelming at all, trying to get your head around all that stuff?
I think the only thing was the healthy home side of things. Like that was quite hard to know. But because obviously it was a new build, which was why helps. I was like, that's fine. But there was still like quite a lot of stuff. Like you had to know the like insulation depth and like the heat pump kilowatts and all this sort of stuff. I'm sitting there going, Pat, what's that again?
And I know there's actually a new one coming in. It'll probably affect you guys in 6 or so months, but it's smoke alarms.
Yes,
you have to have the interconnected alarms.
Yes.
Like every room or something.
Yeah, so I know, like obviously when we built our house, and I don't know if you guys were the same, but there was only one smoke alarm in our whole house, and it's a 3-bedroom, double garage, double bathroom house. Like I would have thought that would be significantly less than what you should be recommended, but that's all that they put in when they built it. Obviously since then we have put in some in our house that we live in, but because Pat's dad did the sparky work at our Upper Hutt house, he did that all like from the get-go. Like he put in all the smoke alarms and all that sort of stuff.
Right.
And
So are they interconnected now?
yeah, and we got one in every room, like so one in every bedroom, because we thought like when we initially rented it out, there were children living in the house, and our biggest thing for like our house now is that we want a smoke alarm in our kids' room, so that alerts them if anything happens. So we put in quite a few.
Well, it'd be crazy if you had a fire then. You got like 5 alarms going off.
I know, the house
loud.
will be blaring, and Pat's mum will be like, what's going on over there? Because she's still obviously behind, the house is still behind her house. She still lives there. So it's kind of,
Do you find it weird doing checkups? What's it called? Like when you have to walk
rental inspections? No, I don't think so. Our tenants are really, they're the same age as us pretty much.
Right, so they're chill.
Yeah, they're awesome. They haven't been there a few times. We don't tend to do them that often, just kind of what's required. We had a bit of...
Which is what, like once every 3 months or something?
So it's... The requirement for us is 6 monthly. We did initially do 3 months, and then we did another 3 months, and then now we've gone to 6 months.
Yeah.
Just when you kind of know like what's going on. I think you can do it once a year as well, like if you are happy. I don't think there's
I guess because you
minimum.
got Pat's mum still there too, like
exactly.
She's going to tell you if they trash the place or
exactly something. Yeah, and like as much as it is great having her there, then she also like keeps the boundary as well, like of, you know, staying away, but they know that she's there if they need anything and they can't get in touch with us, like True. You know, the water bursts or something like that and they need help immediately, they can go to her. So yeah, it's quite nice.
I just personally, I've done a couple and I found it weird.
Yeah.
Just walking through someone's home and it's like they're not home and it's just, you know, you have to walk into their kids' rooms and stuff. It was just a weird experience.
Yeah, I definitely think, because our tenants now are younger, I think it's a lot easier. Like, I mean, they're our age, like they have bags and shoes and stuff and like, you know, like the girl does and makeup on the thing and I'm like, oh yeah, that's typical, you know, like I'm like, that's fine. But I feel like if it was a family home, like which when we initially rented out our house, we had property managers then, so we didn't do the inspections, but I found that would be quite different, like walking through a family home and being on the other side, like as a renter, like with mum, it would have been quite, like it was always kind of like, oh, the landlords are coming to see our house and oh, we have to tidy up everything.
Exactly, put everything away and stuff like that.
Yeah, it is quite different. But I guess just that respect element too, right? Like making sure you're respecting that it's still their privacy, even though it is your home. It's even though
their home
exactly
too, right?
It's their home, your house, right? Like you own it, but they live in it. So yeah.
Did you find it stressful building your house, and were you involved with that one in Wainui?
We weren't so much involved in it. We did a few little things that we excluded from the building contract, more so just like the landscaping and that side of things, which is what we managed ourselves. But other than that, they did everything else.
Right, that makes it easy.
Yeah, it was easy. It was stressful, just the time of when we ended up actually building, so it was 2022, so COVID was still quite a big thing then, and I also know that a lot of builders had been they're under-resourced as well, so they and
a lot were going under at that time.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
That would have been scary.
Yeah, exactly, and we were quite worried that could possibly happen with us. And the prices of everything skyrocketed too, so that was quite hard. But otherwise, it was good. Yeah.
Well, it must feel nice living in a brand new home now.
Yeah, especially it was nice bringing home Beau in the new house, like rather than like a house that other people have lived in as well. Like, you know that everything's like fresh and clean and only yours, you know, like I'm sure you'd probably feel the same when you bring your little girl home.
My only worry is now, like Taylor's expectations are quite high.
So, with a house.
Yeah, so it's going to make it way harder. Like one day we're probably going to have to move out of here.
Yeah.
And then probably find an older home, you know, but who knows, maybe we'll build a bigger house somewhere.
I think Pat and I have kind of spoken, I don't think I would probably build a home like that again. I would build a forever home. where we design everything.
Yeah.
And obviously that's again a lot of money, so it's kind of, that would be like the forever home. But I also I feel like I always go on to Pat about it. He's like, it's just so hard. But I want to do like a block, like I want to renovate an existing house, like completely gut it and renovate it all myself. Yeah, dreams are free.
That'd be all good if you wanted to flick them.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it'd be tough. Like my sister is currently looking for a house with her partner Michael, and he's a builder.
Yeah.
So I think they are looking at houses with that perspective.
See, if you've got someone like that potential's great. But yeah, Pat and I, obviously, he's got design experience, but other than that, pretty immature on the tools. But I feel like it would be really fun, like bonding
you get
as
the
well.
paintbrush out, paint the rooms.
Done a little bit of painting, but yeah.
Where do you want your dream house to be one day?
I definitely think we look at Australia with like that kind of perspective. I just think that there's so much there, and like my family's there now. The lifestyle's just, I feel so much nicer and warmer and everything. The schooling seems really good as well, so that's a big thing that I see for us with Beau. But yeah, possibly Australia, but then I also love like rural upper hut, that sort of thing.
That's
like back a Silverstream type.
That's what I'd be keen to, Like I never used to be like that, but now it'd be like Coast Road, Wyman's Valley. Just like a big sort of lifestyle block. Yeah. Maybe a couple of horses or something.
Exactly. And like little dream farm life.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe have
McLeod's daughters, Taylor will tell you.
Yeah, she loves that program, But even having your own little garden or something, and I mean, for me into rifles and stuff, just having space to be able to do all those things.
Yeah, I think that's the great thing about like obviously these existing houses is you do tend to get more of a section, whereas like obviously with the new builds, like our back section's quite small.
Ours is tiny. Yeah. However, I feel like we're really lucky that we back onto this native bush.
Yeah, it's so nice. It's such a good view and like gives you a bit more of a, like outdoorsy, like bush.
Well, this is like a perfect workstation. You're just like looking into nature. There's like kiddidoos and tuis and all sorts flying around.
Yeah, it's definitely really nice. I think Wainui is so bashed in a way, like with how like Wainui, but I actually think it's beautiful. Like there's so much potential here, so many nice walks down the coast, like up the fire breaks, over the hill, that sort of thing.
Even driving over the hill, sometimes I just take it all in.
Yeah,
and it's just like it's actually pretty amazing when you go to the top of the hill and you look either way, but even coming into the Nui, all the mountains, all the greenery, it's it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. We live in a gully, but it's actually like a forest, like in a way, like you've got every like thing around you, like all of this native bush, and it's
and there's good hunting down Coast Road. Yeah, and if you go all the way to the coast, like that south coast is real nice as well. Been there a couple of times with Louie and had some little fires and stuff going. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, it's so nice down there. I remember going down as a kid, but I haven't been down in ages. I guess
go down with your family.
Yes,
go for a sunset
down there. Yeah, sunset. Take some photos, bake a cake.
Yeah,
all the hobbies. Take the dogs.
I wanted to ask you about getting hacked on Instagram.
Oh God,
what was that like?
Oh, it was horrible. It got hacked by what we've now found out is some scammers in Nigeria or Laos. So it was quite an elaborate scam. They obviously managed to hack in via my email initially, and then they obviously had my Instagram profile, and then they managed to get my email somehow as well, because basically they reset my passwords.
So did they change the email, or do you reckon they got into your email?
Yeah, so they got into my Instagram, reset the password somehow, but through my email. So they did like a reset your password, went onto my email, got the code, and then changed my password on my Instagram.
Sure.
My Instagram, then they changed the email and also set up like a Meta account associated with it. So when you have a Meta account, it's a verified account. So it's through like someone's credit card. They're paying for that.
True.
But they you can't change it. You can't take it off. Like, you actually have to contact Meta to be able to get it off that account.
And I'm guessing they were a nightmare to contact.
Oh, I contacted so many times. I just gave up in the end. For like the first month, I was contacting them, basically like daily, sending emails, going through their reporting lines, everything like that. For hacked Instagrams, there's absolutely no support whatsoever.
That's sad.
It kind of made me feel like, honestly, like it was all corrupt, really, which is pretty sad when you think like about it, the world that we live in, right? But yeah, it was horrible because they were using photos of my son, like my son's birthday party that I had posted on my Instagram, and photos of him like as a baby as my lock screen, which wasn't actually my lock screen. They had like set it up to make it look like it was.
It's pretty clever what they did.
It was. And then they started putting all this Bitcoin stuff,
Yeah, like you made 12,000 USD today.
Yeah, and also saying like I got all these cars and houses and that sort of stuff. It was actually really embarrassing, like going into work and my work friends saying like, oh, what's this Bitcoin thing you're doing? Like, I'm really interested. And obviously like nurses, like we don't all make like heaps of money. And like them sitting there thinking like I'm this like hot shot making all this money driving around my Benz truck. Like I felt so deflated as well. Like I was kind of like, it's not just my photos they're using. This is my reputation as well.
That's sad.
Yeah. But in the end, I made a new account and I kept trying to message them off it. Just getting like the typical fuck off, fuck you. I'm not giving it back, whatever. And like, that's fine. I was like, whatever, I'm just not even going to talk to you guys. So I ended up thinking about it and thought, what's one way that will get them kind of pissed off? So I made a new account and I messaged everyone that followed my old account to defollow that account.
Yep.
I basically got I think like 350 people that followed it initially, and I managed to get it down to about like 98 followers.
It's pretty good.
So obviously Instagram saw that all these people were defollowing this account as well. And after everyone reporting it and stuff, which initially had no help, but now, and then it got taken down.
Oh, nice.
So that made me feel relief. Like obviously I lost my account and I lost the photos and everything on it, but I had managed to screenshot them beforehand. But yeah, it was just pretty heart-wrenching to know that, they had photos, and like who knows, they've still probably got them saved on their computer of my son and me. Like
it's weird one, because I like to think that us younger generation can see a scam for a scam. Yeah. But in that case, I know two people, I won't say the name, but one person posted in our boys group chat. Yeah. And they're like, boys, have you seen like what Kayla's doing? Like I hit her up about it. Yeah. And then I was like, bro, she got hacked. Yeah. It's like, you didn't hit her up, you hit up the hackers.
And I had about 3 older, like my nana grandna's kind of 60s age, message me saying, hey, what's this about? Like, what are you making money from? How is this working? And I also had someone we went to school with talking to these hackers, making her think that it's me. And she signed up to the app and put money in the app.
Oh, no.
So then obviously I felt bad and was like, oh, my God, you've lost money. There's a whole police report and everything behind it now as well, because obviously she lost real money and the bank's like investigating and stuff. And that's how I found out where they were from and that it's actually a significant, elaborate scam.
Yeah, that's terrible way.
But yeah, it's crazy. I think, like a lot of people think, oh, I know a hack and scam when I see one, but not everyone.
Better and better.
Yeah, it was very realistic.
Even talking to my brother about it, he said that he sort of thought it was real because I think he commented on one of the posts and just said like, congratulations, good on you, sort of thing.
I know. And I was saying all this from another profile. I'm thinking,
you're like, no.
Oh my God, don't do that, Josh. Don't do that to these other people. I'm like, no, it's not real. So that's why in the end I messaged people directly off another account, which, let me just say, took hours, and Tay helped me screenshot all the followers because I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? But yeah, it was quite rewarding when it got taken down, and I thought finally they can't message people under my name anymore.
I've only seen that happen with one other dude I know. which was one of the boys from the gym.
Yeah.
Who has a lot of Facebook friends. I'd say like over 1,000.
Yeah.
And his Facebook got hacked. Exact same thing. Posting screenshots of him making money.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing he would have had a lot of people fall for it too.
Yeah. It's so sad. Like, I understand, like, obviously that's their job and that's what they do. And, like, that's how they make money in a obviously poor country, you know. But I just think, yeah, like, the deep down impact of that, like, made me think, fuck, I'm never posting a photo of my kid on social media again. I've obviously made, like, another account now, and there's a photo of me and the dogs on there and stuff, but I'm not posting photos of Beau anymore. I just think, like, whatever you put out into social media now, unfortunately, anyone can screenshot, keep, and that's theirs, you know? And I just think for his safety now, I just can't do it anymore. Yeah.
Well, I think those people that do it are definitely like pests to society. I mean, I understand that they come from poorer countries and stuff, but that's no way to live. But you're literally living by ruining other people's lives or taking their money.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, you know, like, obviously for me, I didn't lose any money, but I lost a lot of, like, dignity to some people as well. And the person that I know that did lose money, I don't doubt that she probably has some, you know, like, negative feeling towards me, even though it was never me. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's really hard.
I bet. So you got a new Instagram now. It's all fixed.
It's all fixed. Excuse me.
Nice.
It's all fixed. It's good. There's photos of the dogs, but yeah, I think that's as far as we'll go. I just use it now, like, so I can keep up with everyone else's photos and whatnot, because it is nice to see, like, what everyone's doing and whatnot. But yeah, I just think I'm not gonna put my life out there anymore. It was a big wake up call, essentially.
Yeah.
And the sad thing was, it happened on the day before my mum went back to Australia after Beau's birthday. Oh, no. So I spent the whole last day, which meant to be a nice family day, going to the beach and having dinner and stuff. And I spent the whole day on the bloody phone just trying to sort this out. Yeah.
That sucks.
I should have just thought, it's not going to happen. It's not going to matter if I do this today. It'll still be like it tomorrow. I should have thought about it. But at the time, it was so consuming that, yeah, it was really hard to get past it. I just thought, oh my God, I need to get this back. But
no good.
Yes.
What about boxing? You used to do a bit of boxing.
I did.
Are you keen to get back into that?
I am, actually. Yeah, I think obviously Pat having had some fights and, you know, doing boxing for a while, and we did it together for a long time as well. I think I definitely miss it. I definitely want to get some more fitness goals going this, like, coming year. I think once, you know, Beau's in childcare, you know, a bit more, like, he's going to be going to an in-home carer with 4 other little kiddies soon. So
that's cool.
Yeah, he'll kind of get that interaction. He'll be a bit more independent. Probably stop breastfeeding eventually. Maybe towards the 2 years old mark.
Get him on the stakes.
Yeah, get him on the stakes, and he just uses it for comfort anyway. But yeah, so that'll be kind of good. Then I can start getting back into doing a few more fitnessy things for myself, which would be nice.
What boxing gym do you think you'll join up to?
I don't know. I think there's a few in Wellington going at the minute. I definitely think TY's gym still would be my preference, obviously.
Because it's the same place.
It's the same place, yeah, Bellevue.
Was a lot of the old members that trained with Robbie, did they go to TY?
Yeah, I think Lisa still goes there occasionally, and then her dad and Jack and, you know, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, they all still go. So
I didn't realise Jack still does boxing.
Yeah.
Or even does boxing.
Yeah, yeah.
Has he ever fought, do you know?
I'm not sure, to be honest. I don't know. No. But I know he did a lot to do with IT heavy hitters and Robbie and, you know, through the I Am Hope charity.
It's quite good.
Yeah.
I even see when I went down to the open sparring at Ronan, TY had like a cup that was I Am Hope, just donations. Oh, yeah. And I like try to pay him for the session, but he's like, didn't want my cash. I was like, no, come on, man, take it. He's like, I'll just put it in the
Put it in
charity
the cup.
box. Yeah, so it's
Yeah.
like, it's pretty good of them to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's such a good thing as well. Like, I think there's definitely other gyms in Wellington that do cheap sessions and stuff, but it's not that foundation of, you know, we're here for our own self and to make ourselves feel healthy, and look after our mental health and everyone else's mental health as well, because that's a big thing. Like, I think a lot of gyms say they do that, but I definitely think, you know, with Robbie and Martin Degnans and that sort of stuff, they did so much for IT heavy hitters and preventing.
Well, even those big events that they did is more so for the wider public coming to watch, because I feel like training obviously helps your mental health so much.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's not those people that need the help, it's the people coming to get on the piss to watch those events.
Exactly, and it's just raising awareness, right? Like, I mean, sure, you can pay $30 to come watch IT heavy hitters and a fight, you know, a couple of fights and that sort of thing, but it's actually thinking, you know, like, people have lost their lives to a fight, you know, in their head that these people are replicating in the ring, but how do you feel today? Like, do you need someone to talk to? And like, they provide the awareness to talk about it, and they also provide like helplines and support and counseling and that sort of stuff. You know, which I think is a really, really important thing, because unfortunately so many people, we just don't know what's going on in each other's head,
and
right?
It's quite big in New Zealand too, right? Like the suicide rates, especially with young ones. It's sad because, I mean, you know, we've both been young, and you get in those, like, your first heartbreak, and you just can't even see a future.
No.
Like, you're just so stuck in your moment that you're like, you know, my life's over, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And it's not.
You're so stuck in that rut, and I think, like, a lot of people, you're right, like, can't see the way out. I think it's just so difficult in today's society for a lot of people to talk about their feelings. Like, it is still, unfortunately, a very taboo subject for a lot of people. And I think, just any awareness to the fact of, like, just knock on your neighbour's door if you feel, you know, you need to, or, you know, talk to your best friend or something. Just don't get to that point where it's like final.
But that's the hard part, is it's more if you don't have those friend groups. Like, I wouldn't be comfortable talking to random dudes if I was depressed. Yeah. But I might be comfortable talking to my close mates. But if I didn't have them, then that's when I guess you'd feel trapped, and it's like, who do I talk to? Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people as well, like you've just said that, like, you'd talk to your close friends, but a lot of people would find that really hard, like, to talk to people that they know, because in some ways I guess it would be like a bias answer, right? Like, no, don't hurt yourself. Like, I don't want you to do that. Like, do you know what I mean? But whereas talking to someone that completely knows nothing about the situation, maybe sometimes in a different light, a better solution. Do you know what I mean? And that's where I feel like, with the gym, even just like, you know, talking to someone that you've, you know, done a sparring session with is sometimes, like, you know, the best person to talk to.
Well, honestly, because, like, sometimes you have one-on-ones with your coach and you can get pretty deep. Yeah. Because, you've just sparred. Yeah. Punch each other in the face. You're full of endorphins. And
you're tired,
that's maybe when it comes out. Yeah. Because I think you're right. Like, even me thinking about talking to my mates, I think it would be hard for me to open up with my mates about some of that stuff, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's just, I guess, our culture and our society is like that.
Well, it's like a macho man thing, right? In a way, sometimes, I think, like, and also macho woman, like, you know, like, it's not the best thing to sit there and cry in front of someone at times. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But a lot of people will be like, oh, just harden up, mate. You know, like, and that kind of mentality is what breaks people. Because they're like, I didn't want to hear, oh, just harden up, mate. I wanted to hear what's going on for you today.
Well, maybe I'm part of the problem, because I always say to my mates, like, you're not allowed to cry, but you're allowed to shed a tear. Like, there's a difference. You're not allowed to sob, but I guess in that situation, obviously it'd be different if they were opening up and getting deep about that.
For sure. I think, we just all need to, like, reflect back on the fact that there are hard times for everyone at times, and just making yourself that open, willing person to listen to someone sometimes is what can save someone's life.
And like escaping your own little world, because
Yeah.
you're always so consumed by your own world. So it's
Exactly.
like checking in on mates and seeing how they're going.
Yeah, for sure. And especially like new parents and new, you know, people that have just changed jobs or people that have just moved and that sort of stuff, like big life events as well. I feel like a lot of people don't always check in enough on people like that.
Or like breakups or anything.
Yeah,
like that,
breakups.
right?
Yeah, I mean, like obviously you're like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that, but like, do you need anything? Do you know what I mean? Like, can I help you or let me help you is a big thing.
Well, I've seen it with some of my mates. I always talk about it, like Connor Bliss.
Yeah.
Like he did the exact right thing. It's like he
Yep.
went through a breakup, and then we call it the forbidden pre, but he like got into the gym and started eating healthy and just like doing all the right things.
Yeah.
And it just stacks up, and then, you know, you still might be feeling shit, but you're making yourself feel better.
Exactly.
It's better than just eating junk food sitting on the couch by yourself with no mates, just
Yeah.
in your own thoughts.
And then you start getting into that rut where you're like, hold on, I'm like now 10 kilos heavier and I feel like shit and look like shit.
Exactly.
And yeah, want to harm myself.
A few people from work this week actually went on a mental health course.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they were saying that if you ask someone if they're suicidal, like this is what they were teaching them, the best way to do it is just be upfront and be like, are you suicidal? Have you had suicidal thoughts?
Yeah.
Which to me seemed very confronting.
Yeah.
But I guess it's like literally just putting it out there black and white. Because if it's
Yeah.
a one-on-one situation, maybe that is their time that they might just say yes. And then
Yeah,
you can
well,
help them.
As a healthcare professional, like, and yeah, working like as a nurse when I did at student health, that's how it is meant to be approached. You're meant to come out right and say, do you have any suicidal ideation? Like, are you thinking of harming yourself or others? And yeah, it's a hard question to ask.
Definitely.
Very hard question to ask. And I think sometimes you're not prepared for the answer.
Yeah, because what happens if they say yes?
Yeah. You have to take that on and you have to do something with it. You can't just put that out into the universe and then let it lie. Do you know what I mean? Like, you actually then need to help that person.
Well, yeah, you would feel like a sense of responsibility.
Yeah.
And if anything happened, like, imagine how guilty you'd feel.
Exactly. I think just knowing, you know, like obviously in a nursing way, I know like how I would deal with that, but in a personal way, I think just knowing that if you are open enough to ask that question to someone, they will appreciate you even just asking that. And, you know, saying, oh, let's go for a coffee, or let's go, you know, down to the gym and hit some pads or something, and then we'll have a chat afterwards. You know, like it's just such a, just take time to listen is the biggest thing, I think. Yeah.
On a lighter note, I was going through my old S4 the other day from like the phone I had during school.
Oh, yeah.
And I was looking at old ball photos. And it's actually funny because, I mean, I took you to my year 13 ball.
Yes.
As a friend, and Monty had Rochelle.
Yes. That's
But
so
it was
funny.
funny looking at all the old photos of everyone there, eh?
My hair was so bad.
Was it?
I looked at the I think I saw them recently too, the photos. It was so funny.
It's
that was a good time.
Throwback.
Yeah.
Funny story is I actually asked Taylor to go to that ball with me.
I know.
Yeah.
Little shit said no.
She rejected me. So then I had to get my friend in.
Yeah, I had to come as a friend instead. She I remember her telling me that actually afterwards. She was like, I was meant to go before you. And I was like, I know. I know. I had to go instead.
She ruined it, eh? Because it could have been like, you know, high school sweethearts.
Exactly.
Like, I took Taylor to my ball.
Exactly.
I can't say that now.
No, you just took Kayla, not Taylor.
Auntie Kayla.
Yeah, Auntie Kayla.
But it was a good time. Like, obviously, Monty was there with your best mate as well.
Yeah,
so
it was fun.
Good.
It was a good night. I can't remember. Did we have an after ball? Did you do an after ball?
Yeah, we did. I think we went to, maybe it was Troy's house, like up in the hills.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I remember up in the hills, eh? Yeah.
And we went
do
to
remember
Bradley
that.
Kitt's house for
That's
prees.
right, for prees, yeah.
In the Nui.
In the Nui. Yeah, that's when I didn't live in Wainui.
True. And I was looking on my phone, it had the previous year's ball, year 12, and we had pre-drinks at my house.
Oh.
And I remember I got wasted for that ball.
Did you?
Yeah.
Who did you take to that ball? I didn't.
I took a Dell.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was weird seeing all those old photos,
I
but
know.
it was cool because there was some real nice photos of all the boys together, which it was cool to see.
You guys have always had like such good photos and memories, I think, of your like friend group, and it hasn't really changed much either.
No, it hasn't really changed at all. And it's weird
Only a few that have disappeared.
Yeah, I mean, it sort of always happens, right?
Yeah.
It's sad to see, but as you grow up, your friend group sort of starts to split a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe our group went through that phase a couple of years ago where we weren't talking as much, but it's almost like we've come back together, eh? Our boys group chat is pretty active, and like we're going out to dinner tonight actually with all the boys.
Wow.
So yeah, it's
That's
cool.
so cool.
Cool that we've stayed friends.
Good to catch up with everyone.
Yep. All right, thank you for coming on, Kayla. I've got a little gift to give you.
You don't need to give me anything. Is it the name of the baby? Because that's what I want to know really badly. Oh, why not? Oh, thank you.
I've got this, a little engraved Versa cup.
Oh, look, it goes together. Oh my gosh, cute.
And I've got a cool little toy for
Oh, look at that. Thank you so much. He will love that. Oh my god, he loves bubbles.
It's actually a sick little bubble gun.
That is so cute. Thank you so much, Brad.
It's all good.
You didn't need to get me anything, but I love this.
Yeah, it's quite cool.
You.
We actually recently at work got that engraver, so we can engrave names on bottles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, quite
Here
fancy.
you go. Take this.
Yeah, well, good.
Put it on my Frank.
I think we've got a charge account for it now because so many people have been wanting them.
That is so cool. Oh, thank you.
All good. Thanks. And yeah, that bubble gun, send me some videos, but it's pretty handy, so I reckon Beau will love it.
He's going to absolutely love that. I feel like, he's got this song that we used to sing at Space called Bubbles Pop, so that might be like in double Bubbles Pop. Nice. It looks pretty handy.
All right.
Anyway.
Cool. Thank you, Kayla.
Thanks for having me, Brad.
No worries.